Now back to our top story on the South African Municipal Workers Union spitting fire over the possible looming Tshwane Councillor salary increases. Only one councillor from the Republican Conference of Tshwane, Lex Middelberg, voted against the move. Andy joins us now. A very good evening to you, Mr. Middelberg. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good to have you on the show. Now, Councillor Middelberg, you were the only councillor to vote against the 5% salary increase. So why did you feel so strongly that you had to stand alone?
Well, there are two reasons. The first is that Tshwane has been one of the worst performing municipalities for the last 6 years. We have been either the worst or the jointly worst performing metro in South Africa over the last 6 years. And you do not reward underperformance with salary increases. That for one. The second reason is due to Tshwane's financial issues. We are, in terms of the financial statements that has been given into the Auditor General last month, we have failed to collect 30% of our current creditors. Now that is a huge sum. You issue accounts to your to your ratepayers, but only 70% of that is paid. That is indicative of huge problems of overtaxation of the people for municipal services. Besides the fact that there's this 30% portion of our rates and taxes that do not come in, our on-demand services, where you walk into the municipality and you would, for instance, order building plans or request building permissions and things like that. Those are 100% paid. You pay when you ask that service. Those services have dropped by 11%. Now that is more than the increase from the previous year in the tariffs for those services, which means that we are dealing here with an economic decline and ratepayer base that is no longer able to pay and carry the burden of financial services.
All right, but what does it say about Tshwane's political culture that across the party lines, every other councillor supported this increase? Is this perhaps a case of politicians closing ranks around their own interests?
It is definitely a case of politicians closing ranks. If you followed the meeting at which this was approved, when I started speaking, the speaker bent the rules quite severely to stop me from addressing council on this issue. So I was ultimately only able to cast my vote against and to have that minuted without giving my reasons in council, which is really unheard of. I mean, we seem to not learn lessons from the past where people are excluded from democratic processes and what happens when that happens. Okay. It is unacceptable.
Now, your colleagues argue that councillors' pay must keep pace with inflation to attract talent. Do you reject that argument outright, or is your issue primarily about the timing and the optics?
Well, services, must also keep track with what is required of a municipality, and we are just simply not rendering the services to our residents. If you look at it, our payroll is 12 billion rand per year. That is 1 billion rand per month. But over 1 year, we spend about 1 billion rand on services. So we're spending 1/10 of our salary, or 1/12 of our salary, on actually rendering services. It's not tenable to continue on this basis. Something needs to change in the city. We cannot just keep on paying people for supposedly doing work, but we don't ever have money available to fund the work that they must do.
All right. Now, Councillor, were you under any pressure from colleagues to support the motion, and how did you navigate that?
I think they know better than to try and pressure me. No. I do my own thing. I left the Democratic Alliance 5-6 years ago because I do not take kindly to the kind of groupthink and the pressure that is placed on you if you're part of one of those big parties. I am essentially alone, and I don't take pressure from anyone, no.
But then are you concerned that voting no could isolate you politically in council and making it harder to push through motions or perhaps represent your constituents more effectively?
No, not at all. I have a very good relationship with most of the councillors in council.
Well, we were just in a conversation with Samu a little earlier, and Samu has threatened to bring the city to a standstill if the increase goes ahead. Do you believe such action is justified, or does it risk holding residents hostage in a political battle?
I hear them say that they are going to bring the city to a standstill, but look at the facts. We are already only spending about 1 billion rand per year on services. That's 100 million rand per month on the biggest geographical area municipality in South Africa. Our service delivery is really a scandal in itself. So, you can hardly bring something to a standstill that is already moving at a snail's pace.
But then how would you advise Samu then?
Threatening those things. I don't think anything will come of that.
Okay.
No.
How then would you advise Samu to channel its anger constructively without paralyzing municipal services? In a democracy, there's one way of doing it, and that is to say to the people you normally vote for, my vote is not up for you at the next election if this goes on. If you're not willing to change your vote, nothing is going to change in South Africa. So some of us seriously consider who they support in the next elections, and they would gain much more traction if they actually advertise those intentions. Mr. Middelberg, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.